Joining me here, we got Dan Gilmore, who is Chief Marketing Officer over at Roboteon, and we're going to talk about Roboteon and what they do. So, Dan, first off, welcome to the booth. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Glad to be here. There's a lot going on the show here, and great to be back with you as always.
Definitely. Always good to catch up with you and talk to you. So for people that maybe are not familiar, why don't you kick it off, tell us a little bit about Roboteon.
Yeah, we're a newer company, so we're still not got a lot of good brand recognition in the marketplace, but we're working on that, and got a lot of really good things going. So we provide warehouse automation and robotic enablement capabilities in terms of a software platform that helps companies to integrate, manage, orchestrate, and optimize robotic-enabled processes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess tell us why is that so important? Why is better integration becoming increasingly more important for operations?
Well, that's a big question. So a couple things. First off, a lot of these robotics projects are not going as well as they could, either in terms of slow time to value or not just getting the results ever that they really expected. And sometimes companies put this in, there's delays, there's glitches, there's integration issues, whatever. They look up a year later, they're still not getting the throughput that they want.
Right.
So that's one issue. And integration goes to the heart of that. I'm not sure why it seems so hard for so many to get those integrations right. They're rather easy for us, frankly. But nevertheless, there is a need in the market for somebody to come in and connect these different parts in a way that maximizes the whole, not focuses on each individual silo.
Interesting. Yeah, and I've heard definitely some stories about people not really getting the expected results when they've implemented systems or some type of automation, and to your point there, like you're saying. And so tell us a little bit about if I'm a company and I'm looking at automation, I'm going to bring some automation in. Where does Roboteon kind of come into play?
Yeah, well, the great thing is we've got a very powerful suite of products. We call it the Robotics Fulfillment Platform that provides a whole wealth of capabilities, but it's not you got to have it all. We can pick and choose. You can start in a certain place and evolve over time. That would be the typical model, frankly.
Yeah.
So, it's going to start with how do we integrate the robots and the goods-to-person systems and the other technologies that you may be considering using. How do we connect those in a way that these systems can work with each other, and maybe more importantly, how they work with WMS and ERP. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that connectivity both to the robot, and we have a number of pre-built connections, and it only takes us a couple of days to build connectivity to a new robot OEM, so it's very fast for us. So that's going to be the starting point, because the integration is the foundation. You can't really get everything else done until you get that right, and like a lot of companies struggle to get it right. And we can help them do that, and again, once you plug into the platform, then you've got these connectivities to all the different software systems so that you can exchange data with the key order and management and other capabilities that you need to get the systems off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good point there about not only the robotic or the automation solution itself, right, but then the systems that are surrounding it too. So tell us a little bit about, because aside from integration, that's important, right? How do we get these to work together? But then on a robotics side and automation side, talk to us a little bit about the concept of interoperability and how robotic kind of helps with that interoperability.
Sure. And interoperability, kind of the ultimate goal is plug and play technology, and there's some efforts going on in the standards community to address some issues, but it's going to be a slow process. But I like to think of interoperability in a couple different ways. One is having different robots of the same type, but from different vendors. So as an example, let's say I start today and I buy, lease robots as a service, however you want to look at it. Let's say I do 30 robots from vendor A.
Right.
And 2 or 3 years later, we make an acquisition, and that, and in terms of the business, and now we need another 30 robots. But in the intervening time, the new robots have come out from a different vendor that are cheaper, have better features, that just match up with your loads better, whatever. You'd like to adopt those robots for the next 30, but you don't want to get rid of the investment you've already made, right?
Right.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to have two parallel systems running? One of the old robot and one of the new robot? Are you going to have to do a bunch of very difficult hard coding of the interface to make them work together? Or can you have a platform that says connects into and makes these two disparate fleets of the same type of robot working together as if they're one fleet? In terms of the task assignment, in terms of the interleaving, of all those kind of things, so that I can keep the robots I have, protect the investment I have, but add the new robots that I like better. That's one type of interoperability. The other is companies that are looking to stitch robotic and non-robotic processes together. So my favorite example here is a large consumer goods company that I talked to not too long ago that has all kinds of automation, and they're looking to really build out aggressively automation in their distribution centers. So they're going to have a put-away robot. They're going to have a receiving robot, a put-away robot, a layer picker robot, etc. These robots all need to talk to each other in terms of delivering the work. And so how do I integrate these different robots of different types to make a end-to-end process in a way that's seamless and productive? So those are a couple different examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think that interoperability, and it's a great point too, because you get one solution, right? And then, as you said, either maybe you do an acquisition, or maybe you just continue to scale, right? You get another building, you need to automate another part of the process in the workflow. It's important to be able to get those to work together, right? Because if you're operating them in silos, it creates inefficiencies for you. So I'm curious, what are you seeing in the market in terms of what companies are looking like from that perspective? Like, do you see that there are companies now that are starting to evolve, so now they're looking at multiple different robotic solutions, and they're trying to figure out just exactly how to bring them together?
Yeah, this is really coming on. I think if you talk to the analyst communities, the Gartners, Interactive Analytics, and others out there, they're all saying the trend towards heterogeneous environments. And a lot of companies now, before it was this first robotic initiative, how do I get this first one up and running? How do I make it successful as a proof of concept or as a actual deployment or whatever? Not really thinking about the long term all that much. But now companies are starting to think that way and realizing, hey, I need to be able to easily add in other robots of different kinds or different vendors, and do that over time as the technology improves or as they automate digital processes, as you said there. So the analysts say they're getting a lot more calls with companies saying, hey, who can help me do this? Because I realize now we haven't been thinking strategically enough about where we're going with robotics. Here's another interesting example, another consumer goods company that large global footprint of factories and warehouses. And they have a long tradition of letting local countries pick the technology vendors that they like. So, there's this company's German division, there's this company's UK division, there's this company's Japanese division, or whatever. Historically, the local managers have been able to pick the automation they want. But what this company wants to be able to do is say, okay, let's say there's a layer picker robot. I want to be able to let the local country pick the layer picker robot that they want, but it plugs into the platform, so you have all the connectivity to all the WMSs and the ERPs and any other software that they have, and it gives the best of both worlds. It allows a centralized kind of strategy and deployment, but yet with local execution in terms of the robots they want to use. So that's another, I think, pretty interesting example. But we are no question heading into a heterogeneous world. There's always going to be some non-automated processes, and you need to be able to interoperate not only the automated systems, but also the non-automated systems as well, because you may have a automated layer picking system for full tiers, but you have a manual case pick right next to it. How do you synchronize the input and the output into both those systems as well as others at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that synchronization, like you said, is so key, right? Because the more systems we get, right? And I mean, I think if you look around here at Manifest, we'll see there's more and more technology, right, coming into the space, and you start to add those layers on. How do you maintain kind of that cohesiveness between all of them and bring them together? It sounds like that's where Roboteon kind of lies. So
yeah, I mean, we have really what we call an orchestration engine that helps monitor the internal conditions at all times very proactively, and it's going to release work and synchronize resources in a way that maximizes the total flow, not just the flow of any one individual area. And that's very key. I mean, just to take a simple example, it's so prevalent. We've seen a number of examples of companies that installed some autonomous mobile robots in the distribution center, got big productivity gains from doing so, but just moved the lump in the snake to packing. So now they got these giant backups in packing, and they're having trouble synchronizing the orders. So that's just another example of where something to orchestrate and optimize that flow of goods and people and robots really is going to be determinative whether you're going to get maximum results from the system or just kind of average results from the system.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that makes so much sense, right? I mean, seeing that issue, the issue is solved here, right, in the process, but down here, now you create another issue, right? Like, so how do you kind of smooth that out and be able to do that? So if people are looking to start maybe getting engaged with robotics or start to bring more automation into their operation, when is the right time to work with Roboteon?
Very early in the process.
Okay.
We've developed a simulation tool that works in multiple time horizons. But one of the key time horizons is the strategic or the design phase. So there are other OEMs that have simulation tools out there, but they're not necessarily agnostic to their own solution.
Okay.
So we offer a vendor agnostic capability that allows you to very easily set up model your warehouse in terms of the aisles and the zones and all of those kind of things. And then put in parameters relative to the robot, its speed, its width, its all another attributes of the robots. And you could either take an actual group of orders, say the orders from the last 90 days, or you can create a profile that says, hey, I got this many A movers, this many B movers, this many C movers, and simplify the process, because getting the data can be a bit challenging at sometimes. But we'll run a full-blown simulation and then allow you to compare scenarios of different speeds and feeds on the equipment, so you can compare the performance across different potential vendors that you're thinking about. Okay. Assumptions of what happens, okay, if I get, if a pick takes 20 seconds, what does the result look like if I can get picks done in 30, or the other way around? Look, if I have 30 seconds to complete, on average, to complete a pick, what if I was able to improve that to 20? What would be the impact? And it allows you to come out and see, like, almost 36 different parameters in terms of cost and time, dwell time, how long are people waiting, how long are robots waiting for work, all these kind of things, and allows you to build a business case with a high degree of certainty that this is achievable because you were able to model it in the simulation. And again, in a vendor agnostic way, we're not in the hardware game.
Yeah.
We'll recommend and give advice, but we often let the tool do the talking, because it's going to come back and show you. Customers just love it, and management loves it, for them to be able to go to their upper management and say, hey, look at this. This is how the system's going to behave if we install the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great too. I mean, being able to see that before you actually make a full-time investment, right, and actually start to put things in place, I think gives you a definite advantage to be able to try and navigate that and make sure that you're making the right decision at the end of the day, which I think is a great tool.
And it allows a lot of engagement, because you start all of a sudden now doing what ifs. Okay, what if I change the pick rate? What if I change the number of robots? What if I change the number of people? What if I added some more? What if I improve the slotting? So you can take these different variables and now start to play around with them and see what the impact is on cost in the end, which is important in service levels. But again, being able to use that to build a business case and say, this is what we expect to get out of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely great to have and be able to utilize that tool to, assess, and then also make sure that you have that connectivity, that integration, interoperability throughout the life of what you're trying to do. So if people are interested in learning more about Roboteon, what's the best way to do that?
Well, they can do it here at the show if they happen to be listening to that. So we're down at 737. As I know, you will be at ProMat in less than a month, or about a month now. So we'll certainly be there, and then we've got a lot of information on our website that people can do in terms of white papers and the brochures and video and things of that nature. And of course, we just love to talk with them. There's an easy contact us button here that set up an appointment, and we really and our clients get a lot of benefit out of these intro calls, and they're just not aware of the capabilities that are out there. Just as a quick note, Gartner calls this multi-agent orchestration platform, and it's kind of a mouthful or whatever, but that really is the space we're in. But we're MAOP plus, we like to say, because we do everything Gartner talks about in terms of a multi-agent orchestration platform, but we do more than that as well.
Yeah, and that's great to know, definitely. And definitely appreciate you coming by the booth and talking to us about Roboteon today. So always a pleasure, Dan, and we'll see you later here at the show.
Kevin, enjoyed it as always. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, sir. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, the New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it
as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesAreSexy.com and get your own.